Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. I thought we'd do a quick first impression review of this thing. I just got this bike about 3 days ago. Today's day number 3, I believe. And it's a Triumph T100, 2012. Anyway, I thought I'd tell you what I think of it so far. You know, while it's still I'm still in the new bike mode. What its immediate impression is, what my immediate impressions of it are. Anyway, I love the way it looks. That's the first thing I got to say about it. I've seen these bikes before. I've wanted one for a long time. I expressed that feeling to Baxter's quite a while ago. The color I wanted, the way I wanted it, and I showed up the other day and there it was. So thank you to them, Baxter Cycle. Anyway, so what is it? Well, it's a 865cc parallel twin, dual overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder, air and oil cooled. There's a gigantic oil cooler on the front. Fuel injected, even though it has these faux carburetors. They had to convince me that these were not carbureted. They look so real. I mean, you can actually see the injectors back here, by the way. So anyway, it is fuel injected. Triumph. Just a fabulous looking thing. I love the colors. The color is, they call it cranberry red and New England white. You got to have a name for colors, right? And I'll tell you, it's just a beautiful, beautiful off-white or cream or whatever color you want to call it. And then there's a little gold stripe here. These are cast. These Triumph logos here. Very well done on their part. I love the way it looks. While we're here, the seat has this. It's a very traditional flat Triumph seat with this white piping, and that piping. I don't know what you guys think of it, but I like the way it looks. I just love the way it looks. It goes really well with the tank. Okay, so jumping on a little bit more about the thing. It's got a 5-speed manual transmission. Of course, it's manual. I like the transmission. It's very smooth, but it's a little clunky in spots, especially at lower speeds. Excuse me. And it is nothing like the new Bonneville T100. The new Bonneville T100 is a much smoother transmission. The wheelbase is 59 inches, which is about 1,500 millimeters. The seat height is 30.5 inches, which is about 775 millimeters. And that's, by the way, that's another thing that really sold me on the bike. I'm not against tall seats. I like tall motorcycles. My Himalayan's pretty tall, but passengers like low seats. And I like smaller motorcycles, and this isn't really a small motorcycle, but it's certainly not a large motorcycle. Let's jump back to the engine real quick. It's 9.2 to 1 compression, so I can use regular gasoline. Pumps out about 67 horsepower and has about 58 foot-pounds of torque. That's 68 newton meters. I love these cases. This looks like a transmission, but it's actually a cover for the chain. It's supposed to look like the old unit transmission. The oil window to check your oil levels down there. I think they did a really good job with it. Okay, the front wheel is a 19-inch 100 by 90. The rear wheel is a 17-inch, and that's a 130 by 80. It's not by today's standard, by modern standard, that's not a very wide tire. But these tires are excellent. And I'll tell you right now, the bike handles very well. Oh, they're Metzler's. I didn't know. They put new tires on the bike before they gave it to me. New tires and new chain and new sprockets and all that neat stuff. The bike has a single disc on the front, 310 millimeter. It's a fixed disc with a floating caliper, 2-piston, Nissan. This is Nissan right there. And one of the things I've always admired about Triumphs from the first time I ever rode a modern one are the brakes. And this has fabulous brakes. Again, not as fabulous as the new T100, but certainly very, very better than average by far. The rear is a 255 millimeter Nissan with, again, it's a fixed disc with a floating caliper. I don't know how to get you a good look at that, but very nice. Fuel tank is 4.2 gallons, and I think that's 16 liters. And I wish, I always like a larger fuel tank. 4.2 is probably the smallest I like. But the bike it's supposed to get over, I think something like 57 on the highway or something like that. I took it on a high-speed run the other day, and I was on the interstate and I got about 51. So, you know, that's not bad. 200 miles on a tank. I've been refilling between 150 and 160 at this point. I've got about 500 miles on the bike. So, not terribly bad at all. The forks are a 41 millimeter. You can't see them, of course. They got these nice boots on them. And the front travel is 4 3/4 inches. That's about 120 millimeters. And I would say the suspension on this bike, for an average riding person like myself, you know, unless you're going to go racing, I think the suspension on this bike is just fabulous. One of the best average suspensions I've ever used. I hate to use the word average. One of the best suspensions for a good old rider like me. Rear suspension, you got those dual shocks in the back there. Chrome, you can't see them because of the bags. And they are 106 millimeters of travel, or roughly 4.17 is what it says, inches of travel. And so far I haven't had any trouble with the suspension at all as far as bottoming out or anything like that, and I don't expect I will. I think that's a pretty good, decent number. I could not find ground clearance numbers on the bike, but more than adequate, I would just say. I did drive it over the curve over there the other day and didn't have any trouble, so not too bad. The bags in the back that you see there, those are Triumph branded bags, and they've got Velcro on the fronts and backs, and they look like they have these clasps on them, but they're actually these plastic clasps down below. I like that. I just noticed that it says Triumph on there. Ha! I noticed this before, but and they've got this Velcro, like I said, to hold them shut all the way around. And I really enjoy them. I can stuff a coat in there. They have plenty of room, by the way, just humongous. They're a lot bigger on the inside than they look like on the outside. On the front, we've got this nice windshield. Again, it's got the Triumph branding on it, and it looks really good, I think, with this bike. It kind of looks like it's made for it, and it is, of course. Just a gorgeous thing. So the rideability and stuff like that. Let's start with the garage. It's kind of an oddity to push around. It doesn't really, it's one of those bikes with the weird rake and trail angle thing, so it does not like to be pushed around the garage. I mean, it's easy, it's light enough. By the way, the weight is about 500 pounds. I think that's 230 kilos or something like that. 225 to 230 kilos. So it's easy to push around the car as far as weight goes, but it's kind of got this weird feeling when you're doing it. Driving it, it's one of those bikes that, you know, you got to pay attention when you're going slow. By slow, I mean anything less than 5 or 10 miles an hour. I took it to bike night last night, and I was driving around there very slow, very well, and it did it just fine. The clutch, by the way, has excellent feel, and I was very happy with that. It's the kind of thing you need to pay attention to when you're going slow. It's picking up, let's say 15 to 30, 15 to 45. It's a dream. That's where it starts to handle pretty good, pretty darn good, I would say. And anything over that, it just does really well. As a matter of fact, on the highway or anything over 40, it's just like it's in its own element. It's made for that, for sure. I've had it up to 95. I was on the interstate the other day, and I was going 95 and people were passing me. But it did so well. That engine is so smooth at those, this bike does average really well. Everything averaged really well. 95 on the interstate is average around here. So it just did it really well. Very, very, very good going. Have not had it on gravels, and I don't plan to take it on any gravel unless I have to. So I can't tell you how it does off of pavement. And I did drive through the yard, did all right on grass. But anyway, so handling is very good, but a little touchy at low speeds. Pushing it around the garage, you got to pay attention. It's low enough that it's easy to push around. It's got a very low center of gravity. So up here, this is the dash layout. These are the stock grips. They've got, this is the clutch lever. It's got adjustability, four position adjustability. Same with the brake lever, which is very nice. I messed with that already and got them right where I want them. High-low for the lights, blinkers. And you know, this is gonna sound weird. It's hard to get good blinkers on a bike, and I really appreciate having good blinkers. And this is the first bike I've owned where the switching system actually works really well. And that's one of my pet peeves over the years, is that it's hard to find good blinkers on a bike, and this bike has them. Easy to push, just barely touch it and it cancels. Very good. Horn down here. Over here, kill switch, start switch, throttle, two position, or two, you know, anyway. Up here we have the speedometer, tachometer. I put this clock on here. On the side over here is how you control the trip 1, trip 2. There's a clock in there. That's about it that I can think of anyway. But in that kind of, it's a very pretty place to sit. Very pretty, you know, when you're sitting on this bike, it's very good looking. I generally put bags on my motorcycles right here, and I just can't get myself to do it so far. I'll get it done. Something interesting about this bike are the mirrors. Rarely have I ever had a bike where the stock mirrors are adequate. And I will tell you that these mirrors are great. They don't vibrate, or if they do, it's very minimal. They're clear of my shoulders, even though they look like they are in. The bars are narrow on this bike. They, I can see past them just fine. They're, even though they're round, they've got good. I can see traffic to my side when I'm on a multi-lane road. I can see directly behind me. Very happy about that. So I like it. I don't know if I mentioned the seat already. It's this long flat seat. First day I had it, I really had trouble with that thing. I thought I'm gonna have to do something different. The second day I took this bike out, I just fell in love with the seat. It's so usable. There's so much space. You know, you can go back and forth, and it just does it. It just, once you learn how to live with one of these, you find it has some great advantages. Narrow up here, going slow, you can sit up on this part, or when you feel like that. As you speed up and you want to lean forward, you just slide yourself back. If you get fatigued and you want to change your position, there's a lot of area here, a lot of very good area. Foot pegs are in a good position on the front, you know, directly below the seat there, obviously. One of the things I'm already thinking about is getting a set of crash bars on here, because I think the bike would look good with a set of chrome crash bars, but also a set of forward pegs, you know, for long highway runs. I think that would be a very good thing to have on something like this. This bike does the highway excellent. It's just, once you get going, it's so smooth. It's just, well, even out of the gate. The motor has some quirks, and I'll make a video talking about that, because I'm still making a list of them. It's got some definite oddities to this particular power plant. I love the power plant. The first time I used one, I've driven 3 of these now. First time I used one, I just fell in love with it, and I wanted one immediately. But it does have some odd idiosyncrasies, and we'll talk more about that at a later time. But anyway, I'm Fuzzy Biker. That's my 2012 Triumph T100 from Baxter Cycle. And y'all need to get out on your motorcycles and ride. I'm going to go do the same. Wahoo!